I think I'm telling you the truth. I think I'm telling you what I think. But maybe I'm playing a game. You know, maybe every single thing that I've said in front of that camera since I first saw you at the airport is a game.
The adolescent Jane Fonda, at a most impressionable stage of her life, was packed off to 4 years at the exclusive Emma Willard School for Girls in Troy, New York. It was there that she perfected her public posture as just an ordinary person, one who seldom complained and who never explained.
Up in the morning and out to school. The teacher is teaching the golden rule. American history and practical math. You study them hard and hoping to pass. Working your fingers right down to the bone. The guy behind you won't leave you alone.
Emma Willard was the great leveler. You know, we all wore these hideous uniforms, and we were just sort of stuck up there for months on end going to school. And, you know, the coin of the realm was really how smart you were, not who your parents were, how much money you had, or anything else, because you couldn't display any of that. You hardly ever saw your parents. So you had to kind of make it on your own.
Too tall and too chubby to pursue ballet, Jane dabbled in drama and took a heavy interest in her appearance, beginning the long-time habit of eating and purging.
She has talked herself very openly about being bulimic, and I was certainly well aware of that at the time, but I thought it was chic. Anytime you have some kind of an addictive disorder like that, you obviously are experiencing some stress. Henry Fonda was remarried during that time to a very, very young woman. And Jane never talked that much about it, but it was clear to me that it was hard for her. It was hard for all of us in a funny way. I mean, this was the first sort of father that we had ever known who had married roughly a contemporary.
Rather than fight the enemy, Jane joined her and found the most important influence of her adolescence in the young Susan Blanchard.
Well, we just did so many things together. You know, we spent a lot of time together because Hank was doing a film or doing Mr. Roberts or whatever, so that we were thrown together of necessity a great deal.
She was like an older sister. She trained Jane, she civilized her. She took this sort of rough but incredibly vivid lump of clay, and she began sort of chiseling away at it.
Susan had less success shaping Henry up, despite the adoption of baby Amy.
I often would drive him crazy and talk to him till 4 in the morning about Jane or Peter. And he would climb up because he really, it wasn't, he just didn't know how to deal with it. He did not know how to deal with it. It's not that he didn't want to. He was incapable of it. Nobody in the family was easy. But none of them are boring.
Certainly nothing boring about Jane on stage with her father and Dorothy McGuire in a benefit performance at the Omaha Playhouse, where Henry himself got his theatrical start. Jane's small triumph, however, was overshadowed by the loss of Susan Blanchard.
Susan, of course, was very upset about the fact that she was going to divorce Henry, but at least she came down and told me at breakfast it was going to happen. Everyone else just kind of would exit stage right, and I'd try to figure out what had happened.
What happened was that while Henry was in Rome filming War and Peace, he fell for a 24-year-old Italian baroness, Afdera Franchetti. The year was 1955. Ike and Mamie were the couple in the White House, and the U.S. began playing footsie in Indochina. Jane was shipped off to another all-female school, Vassar College in Poughkeepsie, New York.
She was not a great student. She was, in fact, her entire freshman year at Vassar was spent out of the classroom. I remember she slept a lot. But by that time, 18, 19, she was very, very beautiful.
Jane was also very, very rebellious, flunking courses, drinking, and escaping over the Vassar walls to live it up at nearby male universities.
I was quite envious of her because she actually lost her virginity before I did, and we had endless discussions of how this took place,
how fortunate she was that it was an older man, how educational it had been, and how instructive, and how this was the ideal way, instead of some sort of callow youth fumbling his way through this experience of the divine, and I believe Italian, European, much older.
Jane's pursuit of acting was far less frenzied, although she spent that summer at the Dennis Playhouse on Cape Cod and begged Henry in the fall to let her drop out of college. Henry refused until, during her sophomore year, when he took as his fourth bride, Afdera Franchetti, he finally agreed Jane could take the following year off to study in Paris and find herself.
I was very suspicious about her going to the Sorbonne. I knew she wasn't attending any classes there whatsoever because I had a lot of friends in Europe who said, your sister's going with this real major AO, and I thought, oh, God. Well, I didn't want to say anything about it because Dad was torqued enough. I just hoped that she wouldn't get killed in a car accident or somehow have her heart totally broken, and she seems to have pulled right through that.
In typical feverish fashion, Jane set about finding some avenue to distinction other than being Henry Fonda's daughter, enrolling at the New York Art Students League, the Mannes School of Music, taking courses at Berlitz in French and Italian, and doing enough modeling to finance her studies at the Actors Studio.
An appointment was set up for me to meet Lee Strasberg, who was the head of the Actors Studio, and he accepted me into his private classes. And the first time I did something in front of the class, Lee Strasberg, for some reason, stopped me, and I don't know what he said, but all I know is that he was complimenting me and saying that he saw a tremendous amount of talent, which absolutely changed my life. No one had ever told me that I was particularly good at anything. No one, I mean, my father, but my father's my father, so it doesn't count. You know, I had done little ingenue parts with him in summer stock, so he said I was very good, but I thought that he was just blind. But when Strasberg said this to me, he who had all of these people in his classes, I think it was a turning point in my life, literally, because from that time on, I went to bed thinking about acting, I woke up thinking about acting, it was like the roof had come off my life.
She had in almost everything she did, which, by the way, I think you can see later on in her life, intensified a kind of zealous quality, almost a religious fervor that, whether it was put into having her face massaged because she didn't like the way it looked, or throwing up after a meal so that she would be thin, or later you saw her put that, when she said it was my father, the kind of dedication and determination that she had, yes, was really just like the character. I don't mean fixed, but very strong, which obviously is, I think, what's made her a survivor.
I got my first job from my godfather, Josh Logan, in a film called Tall Story. Most everyone was under contract to studios, and we were churned off assembly lines like new models of cars. Everyone then was blonde, buxom. There was a look that was marketable. I made the movie and then decided I never wanted to make another movie again, and went to Broadway and did a series of plays on Broadway. And then only came back to Hollywood because I was offered the part of a whore. And here was a chance to not be the girl next door. You know, here was a chance to say, I am more than Henry Fonda's daughter.
Stardom, however limited, was exhausting and confusing.
And the whole thing, all the hubbub and the talking about yourself and talking to journalists and all that kind of thing, of course, it's satisfying in a way because we actors have horrible egos. And on the other hand, it's a complete separation. I don't feel, when I'm doing all of this, it's not really me. I think I'm telling you the truth. I think I'm telling you what I think. But maybe I'm playing a game. You know, maybe every single thing that I've said in front of that camera since I first saw you at the airport is a game. Because some of the time I feel that I'm what I think I am, And another time I think that I am constantly